Today I ran almost 8 miles barefooted. I have so many blisters on my feet.
Dude, that's crazy. What
Yeah,
what benefits does running barefoot have?
I've been trying to practice celibacy, and whenever it's difficult, the best thing to do is to overcome and push myself in some way. So that's what I've been doing lately, and it really helps. It's more running barefoot, it's more mental than physical. It's like the same. It just adds a new layer. You have to overcome the pain and push through. Rishi, as a monk, he would walk barefoot from town to town. So,
Is it just, do you think it's just about like proving to yourself that you're capable of uh pushing through desires or, staying strong?
yeah, that's what I would say it is. Like, exactly
Yeah.
that. Just the will of being able to overcome. I don't. I wonder if there's any, like, physical benefits. I see those TikToks of those guys that, like, walk around and run barefoot everywhere and they try to, like, expand their toes.
You probably have really good balance, but um and like your feet get tougher, so I mean if you need your feet to get tougher,
But is there really a point? Like, do you think it benefits them more physically? Like, do you think they can run faster or farther or have more? I mean, you said they have more balance. That seems
I
like it.
probably do, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say in terms of like physical benefits though, it's trained specifically that. So if you're trying to train for like overall health or endurance or something like that, it's going to be less beneficial because you can't run as far and you can't reach failure in different ways, like with your legs and with your lungs, because you're just like in pain. So if you're trying to improve like your pain tolerance, if you're trying to make your feet tougher, then that's like what will help.
The thing is, I could run until like the bottom of my feet are just like completely raw and blood. But the issue is, I always stop myself, not out of like weakness or wanting to give up, just because long term, I don't want to like mess up my legs or feet.
Yeah, that's how I feel a lot of the time too.
Yeah,
With like
with running
challenges and
challenges.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like,
I always stop because I'm like worried I'll like permanently injure something.
yeah, that's the only reason that like I stop running like 30, 20 miles because I don't want to get permanently messed up.
Right,
I'll
yeah.
tell you with running barefoot, you don't really have to worry about messing up your feet permanently. Like my feet were like pretty bloodied like after a while, but they healed and they got very, very strong. I'd say it doesn't last permanently if you're afraid of that, but I will advise against pushing too much because if you try to do a really long barefoot run and then go for like a business meeting or something the next day, it's going to be hell.
Wait, do your feet then have large calluses? I assume they're really tough now.
They used to have large calluses. Now they pretty much reverted back to normal. It changes really quickly. As soon as you start strengthening the bottoms of your feet, they callus up pretty quick, but then they also decallus very quickly.
That's surprising. Like my mom has giant calluses on the bottom of her feet and they don't go away.
Wow.
Yeah, so does my mom.
Huh. Maybe it's an age thing.
Yeah, that may be. Is Colin gonna join?
Yeah, at 4:20, he has a class right at till 4:20, and then I get going.
I like the the conquer the cosmos in the background.
Thank you.
So what does the universalism symbol mean?
This? What does it look like to you?
To me, it looks like 2 points converging into one and then moving forward.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that is a great way to look at it. I think There's many different ways. Each person has their own, and they should add that to the common collective understanding of it. There are a couple things I had in mind when creating the symbol. One was the stars. I wanted to convey that this was a movement that focused on the collection of cosmic knowledge. And the best way to symbolize that is stars. We look up at the night sky, and for tens of thousands of years, humans have never been able to actually set their sights upon the stars. It was always kind of a tinsel that showed our fallibility, that showed our weakness, that we were always stuck on this earth. And then in the 1970s, we built rockets to get to the stars. And so the stars, instead of being a symbol of our weakness, became a symbol of our ability to prevail. And I thought a lot about that when creating the symbol. Another thing was dawn. So the sunrise itself. I actually have never still seen the sunrise, even though I got up
Bro, no
at dawn
way.
for alms rounds before dawn. I still have never set my sight upon the sunrise, and I won't until my last day. But that did have a very big impact on the symbol because I wanted to convey the idea that this is a new dawn, it's a new world, it's a coming of humanity's true form. There's a couple things, and everyone has their own view of what the symbol means to them, but I think each one adds together to make it more powerful.
You did not spend 40 days in the desert and not see a sunrise.
No sunrises.
How did you avoid that?
I just looked away.
So when you woke up, the nights that you passed out in the desert and you woke
Mm,
up, I assume you woke up from sunlight. You did
yes,
not see
but I
the
never looked at the
sunrise.
sun.
That would be
I
like
just
half of
kept
your
my
perception.
gaze down or on the trees or something.
That seems like such a large challenge among the desert. You have to avoid the sunrise.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. It's not too bad, especially if you walk away from the sunrise. You don't see it.
So, in situations during the sunrise, you are limited. You cannot walk that direction, basically.
Yes, but I'd say the bigger problems were during the mountain monasteries because I had to go on alms rounds at dawn, right? And so I woke up every day and before dawn and went on these alms rounds where I was exposed to the sunrise as I was getting food. But the good thing about the mountains as well is they're so big that they block the sunrise for the most part. So I just kind of had to look away and get my food.
What was the word you used? Alms rise? What does that mean?
Alms round. It's like when you see a monk with a bowl and they're going around the village to get the food.
Were the villagers commonly nice, or were they ever like assholes to you?
They were the best. They
If you,
are, the Thai people are some of the most devout Buddhists in the world. Generalizing, of course, not all of them, but the for the most part, especially in the rural villages, they are the most devout anywhere. Uh, it is because that land, especially in Isan, the region in the east, is so hard to farm that they've had to prevail just on faith alone and on building a tough community. So they respect the monks with essentially worshipful devotion. And it makes sense because they interact very closely with the monks. So we will teach them meditation, we will teach them Dhamma, the teachings, and then they will give us food and alms. And it's viewed as very beneficial towards the religious action. So when they give alms, they get this thing called merit, which is essentially like goodwill. It's karma, good karma. It's helpful for their next reincarnation. And every time they give more or better food, they view it as the celebration, the gathering of more merit. And so they are very, very involved in the alms rounds, especially in these rural villages. Pretty much every day they will get up at 4, 3 a.m., cook the food fresh, make it as good of quality as they can. They will go outside, wait for an hour for us to come by their home and give us food. And sometimes these villagers are upwards of 70, 80 years old. There was one that was 95, I believe, who just came out still every day, hunched over with pretty much no cane, no walker. She just kind of hunched over, walked towards us, and bowed, and then gave us food. And it was incredible to see that amount of faith in a community.
I really respect that. But if I was in the community and I had this form of faith, I would just strive to be a monk. It seems like everything else is meaningless. Like you're just,
No, a lot of them do. It's viewed as like a good, beneficial, meritorious action if you, as a man over 20, go and ordain as a monk for 6 months or a rain season, 3 months, and it's viewed as like one of the best things you can do for your parents. It gives them a lot of merit as well.
do most people become monks then?
Most Thai people do for 3 months.
Oh, only for 3 months. That's not
Mhm.
really being a committed monk, is it?
Well, I mean, they view it as committed as being. It's not viewed upon disgracefully. It's honorable. It's very honorable.
That does seem honorable.
Mhm.
I love the Thailand community. They're also kind and friendly and seems incredible.
Yes, it's one of my favorite places in the world.
Will you ever go back?
Maybe to the desert.
Hmm. Kyle's been reading a book about Buddhism.
Really? What have you what are you reading, Kyle?
Yeah, it's a book that's like, what is it? I have it right over there. It's like introductory, like Buddhist questions for beginners, right?
Oh,
And so it's just a book of like common knowledge that covers like most of the bases of Buddhism at the surface level, right?
yeah.
And so with like non-dualism, and we've been talking about these ideas for a long time, right? I've
Yeah.
learned them from you and from Max, and I just wanted a more kind of concrete idea of Buddhism and what it was, learn some of the terminology, the facts, like just get a better handle on it.
Wow, that's great. And were you able to?
Yeah, I'm about like halfway done with the book right now.
Very cool. And so you understand non-dualism better?
Um, I would say I understand better like how to act with non-dualism because
Mm,
they teach a lot of that. They teach a lot of like what's it called? Impermanence
mm,
and um non-attachment, right?
mm,
And a lot of these ideas I've already known, but it gave me a good idea of like how it's practiced in real life through
mm.
meditation and through through other things.
Yeah, and that's the best part about philosophy, the application. It is good that this book is allowing you to apply it.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Very cool, very
Embodiment.
cool. Embodiment, too.
I'm really curious. Did you learn anything about non-dualism meditation techniques or how to like apply non-dualism in action in everyday life? I've come to my own conclusions, but I want to hear yours.
I still haven't gotten a great grasp on it, like how to really disconnect from your ego and view yourself as the universe. It's like I try certain things, certain thought processes, to try to do that. I'm still just like a beginner, but what do I do? So when I meditate, I try to get into a state of observation, right? So I let my thoughts, I let my feelings kind of move freely and try to observe them from an outsider point of view without attaching any sort of like emotions or try not to have any like pre-built biases when I'm looking at myself, right? And you can apply that outside of meditation too when you're just walking around outside or when you're doing something. If you're suffering, for example, like you're doing a running challenge and you're in pain, it's a kind of mindset that I try to get into where I look at that pain from an objective observer point of view and say, what is this pain doing for me? Why am I feeling it? And I guess, what should I try to do to make it not a problem or like make it not an obstacle towards my goals? So, um, and I think like this pain, right? This pain that I'm feeling while I'm running, it's saving me from being injured. I recognized my emotions when I felt that pain, maybe fear of getting hurt badly or doubt that I'll be able to complete the run or something like that. I'm thinking those are the emotions this pain is causing me, right? And there's a reason I'm feeling this pain, but I don't have to attach those feelings if I know I'm not gonna get hurt, right? Like permanently, or I know it's not a permanent thing, right? And I know that this pain in this moment isn't benefiting my goal.
Mm.
So it's kind of looking at it through that lens that I'm able to like, I guess, not attach with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Um, I think that is one of the biggest benefits of non-dualism, that you recognize that all of the states of this body are trivial because you are something bigger. You are the universe. So happiness, sadness, pain, all of that is impermanent. It rises and falls, and it only lasts within this body. And I think one of the biggest things that influences is the philosophy around happiness, because socially we are trained to pursue happiness. But if you take a non-dual view, then the maximization of happiness for just your body, for just your mind, is like trying to maximize for the benefit of your pinky. Ultimately, it will not benefit you as a universal whole. It will only benefit a specific part of you while hurting the rest. And I think that is one of the main things that non-dualism sheds light upon. And it's good to kind of embody that by looking at all these pain, emotional states, happiness, all of that with kind of transient emo transient kind of observation, like you were saying. You know, you just observe it. You observe its changes.
And I would like to talk also about how if the individual, if you pursue happiness as an individual,
Mhm.
not even from the perspective of the universe, it
Mhm.
also doesn't really
Work.
work out. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you chase it, especially with a lot of people, their idea of happiness comes from external sources and like dopamine and like serotonin, yeah, like a lot of chemicals, right? And
Yeah.
when you try to chase that, it
I can give you
like
two reasons for this if you want, if you're curious.
sure, go ahead.
So first is an evolutionary reason, and the second is a social reason. So evolutionarily, if you think about it, suppose you were to get a gene, you're a caveman in the olden days, you were to develop a mutation that allowed you to get as much happiness as you want. What you would do is sit around in your cave and just get that happiness. You would not be incentivized to go hunt, to build shelter, to reproduce, because you had automatic control over your ability to provide dopamine. And so this mutation would naturally die off. The reason happiness developed in us was as a reward signal. So when you think about serotonin and dopamine, they are both used as a means to determine what is valuable and what is not. There are specific things we can't encode into our DNA, right? Like food, for example. Our desire to get food isn't encoded directly into our DNA, it's encoded into a happiness signal. And when we eat an apple, we get that reward. And so our DNA tells us that this particular molecule in the apple, sucrose, sugar, glucose, um, should trigger this happiness signal in our brain. So in our DNA, it's not saying that we should be called towards that sugar. It's saying that when this sugar hits our tongue, then give us a valuable reward. So it's kind of like a middleman. Happiness is a middleman between us and our goal. And what happens is that if you try to go straight for it, you'll never get it. Because since happiness is encoded into us as a means to provide value on a goal, the only way to get it is to pursue that goal. If you try to go straight for it, it's impossible because it would that mutation that caveman had to develop that dopamine in their brain automatically on command was evolved out of the population. If we survive here today, it's because our ancestors had correct dopamine signaling to get survival benefits. So they had dopamine that only worked when they pursued goals. So similar to them, we only have dopamine when we pursue goals. So a lot of the time when society tells you, you should pursue happiness as the goal, it's not possible because you can only get it as a side effect of pursuing something else. So if I build shelter, I'm happy building the shelter. And after I've completed the shelter, because happiness, dopamine, serotonin is provided as a side effect. But if I try to go straight for it, it's like looking at a star. When you look straight at a star, you can't see it. But if you look in your peripheral vision, you can see it. Socially, there's another reason as well. Happiness, we are trained to pursue because capitalism as a system only works when there is a goal that is unreachable. And what I mean by that is suppose the goal of the system was to get a house and a car and that's it. Then every time someone reached that goal, they would drop out of the system. So the system would become less effective as time went on. So the best, most optimal system is to have one where people think they can get the goal, but can't actually get the goal. And so happiness is that perfect kind of system. It's that perfect goal. It's that perfect unreachable activity because you can get temporary happiness through, drugs, through sex, through cars and products, but you can never get that permanent happiness, at least not through the system. So when you're trying to go for it, you feel as though the system is helping you get at it, but it's never actually allowing you to get any closer to the goal. And so the system keeps you trapped in that the hamster wheel, basically. The only way to get real lasting happiness is through goals and drives, because that is what evolution dictated as our only way to continuously get dopamine and serotonin. Do you see what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And speaking from personal experience too, when I I've gone through periods of my life where I didn't have a primary goal. I might have like, things I want, things I go after, and that are rewarding when I chase them, but I had no overarching goal, right?
Mm.
And but I did have what I did have was a lot of dopamine, a lot of you know drugs, a lot of entertainment like anime, video games, music, all that kind of stuff that was flooding my brain with these chemicals. So in the moment, I guess you could call it happiness, but it's that overall, like, overarching sense of happiness that you're saying it comes as a result of uh working towards a goal. I didn't
Mhm.
have that. It
Mm.
was like a general sense of dissatisfaction, right?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like trying to move forward. Like that temporary happiness is like trying to move forward on a treadmill that's going backwards at an increasingly rapid speed. Because the more you try to get that temporary dopamine, the more tolerance you build, and so you need more and more and more and more. And it's like you're falling off a cliff and trying to climb at the same time.
Right. Yeah, and then you get to a point where like simple things don't give you any dopamine anymore.
Mhm.
So like can't even listen to music without being high because it just doesn't sound as good, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I only get happiness from the universalist dream. Everything else seems like so meaningless, and I get like frustrated in a way. And it's so pure when I pursue it. But the thing I don't understand is when I'm in pain pursuing something for all cosmic knowledge, I am happy even though I am in pain.
Mhm.
And from a neuroscience perspective, how can you have like suffering and happiness simultaneously?
Oh, this is a good question. I have two answers on this as well. One is a Buddhist one and one is a neuroscience one. So I'll give you the Buddhist one first, which is very interesting. So in Buddhism, there's two kinds of happiness. There's rapture and sukha. So rapture is that kind of temporary high of, you feel great, but it's ultimately hollow. It it's hard to differentiate unless you really know what is the cause of the happiness. So the rapture is caused by temporary things, by impermanent things. Sukha is this overarching kind of permanent happiness that lasts you even when you're in pain, that lasts you at all times throughout the day. It is that happiness that is caused by things that are permanent. And so those are the two different types of happiness. And Buddhism states that you should not get rapture, you should try to get sukha only. Because ultimately, rapture is just going to lead you to continuously want more and more rapture. It only causes more pain. It's the suffering of happiness, essentially, where you try to get happiness. But sukha is this permanent quality that lasts only through specific causes, like the cessation of all desires, or a specific desire, like a dream, like a very, very large goal. And the neuroscience perspective on this is that this is how craving essentially works. So suppose I take a bite of chocolate. What happens in my brain? Two things, two chemicals, two neurotransmitters are simultaneously created. First is dopamine. You get a spike of dopamine. And parallel to that, you get a spike of this thing called norepinephrine. And I explained this to you before, Max, I believe, as well when you were here for lunch. But when you take a bite of chocolate, you get dopamine and norepinephrine. So dopamine is kind of the motivational pleasure chemical. Norepinephrine is a pain chemical. So when you eat that bite of chocolate, you're getting both equal amounts of pleasure and pain. Most people don't know this, but that is what is happening. And that pain of you see the chocolate in front of you and you decide not to take a second bite. What is the feeling that you get in your brain? Oftentimes it is pain. It is similar to like a physical pain. It is because of that norepinephrine. That norepinephrine has spiked. And so now you're feeling pain. The only way to get that norepinephrine down is to take a second bite of chocolate. But guess what? As soon as you take a second bite of chocolate, the norepinephrine spikes again. Because every time you start to crave more and more and more, you get pain, 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 pain. And with rapture, that pain is always accompanying the happiness. With sukha, that pain is not necessarily always accompanying the happiness. So with sukha, it can be a essentially, you can think of it like a neutral, a happiness neutral. And rapture elevates it, pain lowers it, but always you have that kind of happiness neutral. And that only comes with that goal, that drive, because ultimately what is happening is evolutionarily, we are working towards something, and our brain recognizes we're working towards something, some sort of long-term vision. And every time we make progress towards that, our brain wants to reward it. Because think about it, when you're born into the world as a baby, you don't know what's valuable and what's not valuable. Your brain has to decide it. And so you have two parts of your brain that kind of make this judgment. One is the prefrontal cortex, which is your thinking, logical part of your brain. One is your limbic system. Your limbic system provides the emotional responses, happiness, sadness, everything like that. But every time you get a signal from your limbic system, it has to pass through your prefrontal cortex. If your prefrontal cortex doesn't agree with the decision made by the limbic system, it can block it. So, for example, if you eat a piece of chocolate, the sugar in the chocolate will automatically trigger a response of dopamine in your limbic system. But if logically you should not be eating this chocolate, maybe you feel really guilty, maybe you feel really guilty about being unhealthy, or it's really bad for you, you're allergic, then your prefrontal cortex can actually stop the signal. So you can cease the happiness signal, which is very, very interesting. That works the other way too, where pain can be also ceased by your prefrontal cortex. So your prefrontal cortex determines what you value. Philosophically, it determines what you value. And it can create happiness for you by determining what passes through and what doesn't. Your philosophy directly influences how much happiness you get.
That's
And guess who's here?
Colin! Yeah!
Oh, Max is in a suit. Wow.
He said Max is in a suit. Wow.
Is it like a background?
This is his room.
Oh.
Yeah, wait,
That's
log on.
When you speak of the limbic system, does that include the anterior cingulate cortex, ACC?
I'm actually not too sure if the ACC is in the limbic system or in the prefrontal cortex. It could actually be in neither. I'm tempted to say neither. Let me switch it up.
I know it's not in the prefrontal cortex, I believe. The anterior cingulate cortex. I think I've mentioned it to both of you. I've sent a video to both of you about David Goggins.
It's in the medial inner surface of the brain. So above the corpus callosum, which is the part of your brain that connects the left and right parts of your brain, and it is part of the limbic system. But it is situated between the prefrontal cortex and the parietal lobes. So it's kind of so it is part of the limbic system, but it's near the prefrontal cortex.
That's a really good answer.
Okay, well, I have to go now, guys.
All right.
Thanks for
Well, it's
having
good
me.
seeing you, Kyle. Yeah. I'll see you Saturday.
Yeah, I look forward to learning more from you guys.
I look forward to
forth.
catching up. Yeah, venture forth. All right, Colin, you joining? Cool.
Wonderful.
Oh,
Hey,
there
Colin.
he is. Wait, maybe I'll join in another room because it might echo.
That's a good
Give me a
idea.
sec.
Oh, it's.
What?
I just mute myself.
No, that's fine.
No, 'cause
I'll just join in another room.
okay.
Colin, I learned a lot from my visit with you at Stanford. Just about myself, where I want to go in life, and philosophy in general. Your friends and the champagne party was incredible. I really thank you for having me over.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I was just changing my audio.
You're good.
Well, I'm glad. I know. I'm glad. Well, I mean, listen, I'm glad you're able to be there. It's yeah. It was kind of a cool thing that we started in winter quarter, and we just do it every other week now. And yeah. So I'm glad you're able to go. I mean, you fit in really well, you know. I mean, I think it was very smooth. So yeah.
Have you been having any philosophical conversations with Rishi?
We had a huge one yesterday.
Wait, tell me what
Yeah, we had a
happened.
huge one yesterday. It was so good that I actually I put off my P set, so I had to stay up till about uh late into the uh late into the morning, if you know what I mean. Um yeah. But it was good. It was interesting. I think there were some good arguments landed against universalism. Um I think there were.
They were
Really?
like they're though what they were philosophers' arguments. They were like, if you subscribe to these axioms, then this is the argument you can make, and it's like a circle. You're safe if you stay in that little circle, but as soon as you venture out of that circle, you're not safe anymore. But the only way to expand the circle is to get more knowledge. So ultimately, it's a philosopher's circle. It's like a really high level kind of abstract concept that we're arguing about. But once you get down to the meat of things, I think he agreed.
Yeah, so basically Rishi met I took him to a Stanford Political Union event, and we were talking to the president afterwards, and the president is a philosophy major, and he's graduating this year, so he's pretty well versed. And yeah, and then Rishi brings out his universalism, and then where it goes from there. So
Yeah, but it was like me and Colin were out against Yuchin, the president. It was like it's crazy.
Really? Were you guys a
Yeah, yeah,
team against him?
yeah. It was good. It was good. And there's like this guy named Nathan who's kind of like an observer, and I think he became kind of like he's I think he's pretty interested now. Like at the end, he was yeah
Did you get his contact info?
yeah. I'm meeting him again today.
Ah, is there a term for being stuck in an axiom with a philosophical circle? Because that's where most people are.
Close-minded.
Is that all it is? Not
no,
being able to admit?
it's called like it's called a um there's a difference between valid and sound. I believe it is that you would call it a um, logically sound argument,
Mm.
even if it may not be valid, but it's logically sound. Um, so I believe, or maybe I had those two switched up, but that's what you would call it.
No, I think you
Yeah.
have them right.
Okay. Yeah.
I like
Um,
that. A logically sound argument, like stuck in a circle. Colin,
Yeah.
do you live your life off of any axioms?
um, I probably live my life based on uh, I think I'm constantly skeptical that I'm taking the shortcut, you know, or like I'm falling to like either a cognitive shortcut, or I'm being like lazy in some regard.
Mm.
Um, so I think I'm like constantly like very very worried and like skeptical about like, okay, am I coasting here? Am I actually like critically thinking? Am I doing just what's comfortable for me? Am I like getting myself out of my comfort zone enough? Right? Like that's always a huge like concern. So I think for me like the main like sort of tension in my life is like when am I like pushing myself out of my comfort zone, right?
Mm.
Versus when am I acting outside of myself?
Mm.
You know, like I think that's always a tension of like challenging yourself, but at the same time, like still staying true to like who you are, and like your strengths. Um, that for me is probably like the most like I don't know if you call it an axiom, but it's at least something that I feel like a lot of my decisions pivot around.
For myself, I don't really see a difference between who I am and challenging myself. It's the same like entity.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
what you spoke of, I don't know if that's an
Can I
axiom. Oh,
It's not an axiom. I don't know. I don't think I really have one singular. I mean, obviously, universalism, but but no, I don't think I live it by one axiom, but I live it more so by like constantly like thinking about that equation of whether I'm like, pushing myself in the right ways or not. Um, yeah, I think that's probably like my main concern, I would say. Focus. Yeah.
has anything helped
Mm.
you have a form of awareness to find when you should push yourself or stay true to yourself or do this or that?
Um, I think a lot of it is like I think a lot of it comes down to for me is sort of my internal drive and then external pressure. So like you may desire to do a certain thing because there's some type of external force that's pushing you in that direction. It feels outside of your comfort zone, right? That's, I think, one of the pressures. And then I think the other one is more of like you feel like you should do something because you feel in your gut that you should do it. And you have that little like whisper in your head that's telling you to do it, right? And that's a challenging thing, which is why it's kind of in this like sort of suppressed, voice or whatever. So I feel like I try to listen to the latter instead of the former. But sometimes it's
Mhm.
hard to distinguish the two, right? Of like when is it a gut thing and when is it more of like I'm being conditioned by whoever society, whoever um to do this. You know what I mean?
Where do you think the gut arises from, like the gut feeling?
I think the gut feeling arises from like just your intuition
Mm.
and what you ultimately would want if you lived in some vacuum or some place with no consequences or whatever.
Is it like
Um,
if you were a baby, like that would be the gut feeling if you had no conditioning,
it's hard
right?
to say baby because baby your desires are differently. But I think it's more of the idea of like it's more of what you would do without the possibility of failure or being
Mm.
chastised, anything like that or being judged or anything like what I mean. It's like it's that sort of like intuition
Mm.
versus like uh yeah versus oh I'm doing this because I'm kind of but essentially like I feel like I don't want to be making the decisions that are trying to reconcile like external forces and pressures with like my intuitive desires. I just want to follow my intuition. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Versus like making this calculation that somehow kind of like balances both, but like doesn't really get me to the best scenario, just kind of gets me
Mm.
to the one that's like most comfortable, right? Threads the needle per se. That's not necessarily like the thing that I want.
If we follow our intuitions all the way, like, is that is that possible? Do you think, like, to live in a society where you can follow, like, if we were to follow in this society, do you think it's possible? Only your intuitions.
Hmm.
I think it's possible. I think
Uh,
it's hard. I think it's incredibly difficult to do. Um, I think there are times where there are some like trade-offs,
mm.
small trade-offs, but I think it's possible. I just think it's incredibly difficult, and I think it's probably I think it's possible in like in the sense that like all the intuitive decisions that you want to make you could do, but it's
Mm.
just like us as humans and like the way our brains work, I think, like we just can't catch all of those situations. Like we can't make the correct decision in all of those circumstances. You know what I mean? Like there are some times where we just sort of give in to like, what's pressuring us.
How do you read your intuition better?
Um, reflection, listening to
Mm.
yourself. Yeah. Like reflection. Like I think stopping and like thinking, like just you know what I mean? Because I feel like we're all on this like, it's like you're on a treadmill and it's like moving
Yeah.
really fast. And um like I just had the other day where like I was looking through my email, my school email, and I was looking through it and like this I was on a mailing list for this club. And they sent something out and I was about to like just like completely ignore it and like go to another tab. And I was like, wait a second, like wait,
Well, Colin, I think your audio went out.
Yeah, Colin's audio went out.
Colin, no.
Maybe Try to leave and rejoin.
No.
Like,
Yeah, try to leave and rejoin.
I don't know if you can hear us.
Oh, you can't hear us? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, there we go.
This podcast has been so great, Rishi, with all the new faces and
Yeah,
opinions.
yeah. Are you recording?
Yeah.
Good. Oh, Colin?
Yeah, do you hear me?
Oh yeah, hear you.
Okay. I think it was just because a call came in.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You
But
said you were
what
on
I
the
was
mailing list?
Yeah, I was on this mailing list for this club,
Mm.
and I was like, I just stopped and I'm like, why am I not going to like these events? This is really interesting. And I'm like, I think it's just because I've been on this like thing of like just kind of maintaining my schedule, maintaining all the things that I go to because it's just easy and simple and comfortable. I know the people, I know the place, right? Like it's that sort of thing. Like I can very much, I think I easily could fall into the trap of like, enjoying a schedule, enjoying like, the kind of normalcy of that. Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents.
I take back what I said before. I don't think you should read Ayn Rand anymore.
Interesting.
I think you already understand it. I don't think you need to read Ayn Rand. Like you already have that philosophy. Like I don't think it's necessary. Yeah, interesting though. She argues the same thing that like essentially you should follow your. She doesn't call it intuition. She calls it selfishness, but it's very interesting. But you already have that philosophy essentially. It's the same. But I think Max, you should read Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead. Good.
Okay, I'll read it. I believe I should follow my intuition on all scenarios. Depending on, well, I mean, I define like intuition as my core values.
Me as
But
well.
I mean, intuition can also be feelings. I guess I should follow my core values at all situations. Like that's
Yeah,
who
wait, Colin,
I
what do you think
am.
about feelings? That's a very interesting point you bring up, Max. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference between like your intellectual like intuition versus like your emotional like impulses. Yeah, that's different.
Ah,
Um, I think that's different. Now, thinking about your emotions in an intuitive way, i.e., like not like over rationalizing. Like if someone says something that makes you feel a certain way, like really thinking deeply about why you felt that way in the first place. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like I think there are like truths in someone's emotional impulses. Like I think that does say something. If someone says something and it does irk you, like that does mean something. It doesn't just mean it's some irrational, stupid response. Um, but I don't know if you should act on it. Like I think there's a difference there between, at least in my mind, between like they're almost like inverses, right? I feel like with emotions, it's usually better to like stop and kind of think through it and like rationalize it and like consider, the implications. Versus I feel like when it comes to like your passions and like dreams and desires and like, your like intellectual pursuits, like I feel like that's something you have to just kind of like do and like not worry about, what other people are gonna like say about it. That's like
so there's like a
damn
difference
near impossible.
between like kind of impermanent emotions, the trivial emotions, and then like the big dreams, goals, desires, values, like those types of emotions.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that.
I see emotions as like an untamed, raw horse that will. There's a reason it became wild, and there's a reason that it's crazy, and that's what emotions are. And if you follow that untamed wild horse and let your emotions get the best of you, you'll end up in a ditch. So with the wild horse, instead of acting on it, I feel as in every situation, it's best to understand the horse, to align the horse, to be able to tame it.
Channel it.
Channel it, yes.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
Huh. It's like we were discussing before with the limbic system and prefrontal cortex, Ultimately, the limbic system is responsible for emotions, but you can use your prefrontal cortex to decide which emotions actually influence you and which emotions you let control your daily life. So it is very interesting that your values and your logic can kind of influence your emotional desires, feelings, reactions, etc. Yeah. I mean, how are you going with celibacy, Max? How's that going for you?
Is my audio really low?
Now it's good. It was a little before, but we could still hear you. It was just a little low. Yeah.
Okay, cool. How am I
Mhm.
going with celibacy?
Yeah. How is celibacy going for you?
Significantly easier. With being able to
Mm.
make art, it gives me a purpose to like art essentially just creation. Everyone's an artist.
Yeah.
And it's a form of like a journal to myself. Those little pieces, even though it seems like I spend a few minutes, sometimes I think about them all day or I spend hours,
Mm.
and it really reinforces it because whatever emotion I'm going through, it's a form of expression and a purpose, a checkpoint. And
Mm.
I realize the more low or the more weak I feel, the more I just need to overcome and push myself, whether that
Mm.
be like right now I'm on the 40th hour of my fast, I believe. So,
Wow. Nice.
yeah, that's
How long are
Oh,
you going for?
48 hours, and then
Very cool.
I'll see how I'm doing in a few days and I may fast again.
Yes, that's amazing. I Do you know about refeeding syndrome and how to break a fast?
I have an issue with reed feeding syndrome. I'm not very educated on it.
Okay, so the best way to kind of break a fast, for me at least, it varies from person by person, but you should break it slowly for everyone because fasting is very intensive on the body. And what can essentially happen is if you are lacking electrolytes, which you do in a fast, and then you intake food really quickly, you eat a big meal or something, those electrolytes flood your body. And then what happens is your it sends out a signal to your cells to absorb all those electrolytes because they haven't had it for so long. And in your bloodstream, all those electrolytes suddenly get absorbed. And so even the small amounts of electrolytes you did have during the fast get absorbed as well. And so you have basically no electrolytes in your system. And that can be really bad for your heart, for your brain, everything. It can cause heart attacks and murmurs, and it's very bad. So the goal of preventing refeeding syndrome is to slowly break a fast. So I'd recommend eating. So I would start with something like juice, or not even juice. It should be low sugar because if it's high in sugar, then it can also cause that insulin spike, which causes the glucose intake, and then that absorbs the electrolytes. So don't eat anything too high in sugar. If you can get organic coconut water with no sugar added, start with that. If you can't, start with like vegetable broth or something like that. Then start with kind of boiled, soft vegetables. Very little of this stuff. So maybe like two pieces of broccoli, boiled, soft. Um, Blended in a smoothie would be good as well. So start with kind of vegetable broth, and then like an hour later, do like two broccoli pieces blended in a smoothie, boiled broccoli or something, and then maybe an hour after that, maybe some steamed vegetables, very little, maybe a handful. An hour after that, you can start ramping it up a bit. Do a light meal like a salad, um, some protein, maybe a fruit, a couple fruits. You can eat a banana. Banana is good. And then an hour after that, you can start getting back to normal.
What time period are you talking about? Like a 48-hour fast, 24, a week?
Anything above anything above 72, this is basically mandatory. Above 48, this is good.
Wonderful. I appreciate all that advice. I'll be sure to do that.
Yes, no problem. Yeah, well, I was talking to Colin before, and I didn't even realize it, but one of the monks saved my life because I had no idea about refeeding syndrome. And basically, he told me break the fast slowly and explained this to me. And so I guess I avoided death like 11 times because that is another way I could have probably died.
Yeah, what food did you bring to the desert? Was it just beans and rice?
You cannot bring food to the desert. So as a monk, you have to go on alms rounds at the village.
Oh, so every day you'd walk 7 miles to the town?
Yeah, you walk a couple miles to the village, and then you get the food at dawn, and you don't have to. So if you're fasting, you don't go. If you have sickness, you don't go. But if you want food, you go to the village at dawn and get food, and you get one meal a day. They give you some stuff that you can eat in your bowl. And the goal with breaking the fast is to do it slowly. So as a monk, you can eat anytime before noon. With the Thai forest tradition, the Ajahn Chah tradition specifically, there is the goal of eating one time per day in one sitting. But if you are fasting or sick or there are other exceptions, you can eat just any time before noon. And so when breaking a fast, it is recommended that you do it slowly. You do it from about 7 a.m. to noon, and you slowly, eat some small stuff and then go bigger and bigger and bigger.
Hmm. Yeah. You have to bring it in slow. Colin, how do you challenge yourself? You do challenge yourself. You're very disciplined and driven, and you're
Yeah.
talking about the balance between the two. Like, I challenge myself with fast running or long work periods. What do you do? What's the challenges in your life?
Oh man, I mean, I feel like at Stanford the challenges are just everywhere. Um, Literally everything, everywhere. Um, it's like I don't know. I think you obviously I can approach it like from a work standpoint and talk about how like, challenges like staying focused, and doing well on a test, and that sort of thing, and like preparing well for that and, creating a good study schedule. Um, but it's also like I in like my writing, I'm like constantly trying to think of like, maybe what's the better line or what like how could I say this better, articulate this in a more compelling way and like not giving myself the easy outs. And then I feel like on a day to day, it's like, you know, um, I don't know, like how can I be more efficient in my day and like make time for this particular activity? Um, like I don't know. I think I've worked like really hard this year to like try to establish productive, efficient schedules for myself so that I can have more open time to, think, reflect, be less stressed overall. And then like sometimes I succeed and then like most of the times I fail.
Hmm.
But it's like it is a kind of a constant struggle. So I don't know. I feel like my challenges are like pretty much built in. And there are some things I take initiative with for sure. But yeah.
You should join we're doing monthly challenges in the server to kind of build, you know, fun little activities that they're completely optional. But we're doing a meditation May where we meditate for 10 minutes a day and send in like our timers or whatever. You should join it, Colin.
Yeah, no, I think 10 minutes definitely sounds reasonable. Yeah. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
Colin,
no, I will. I will do that. I'll do it in the morning. Yeah.
Cool.
you
Yeah.
said that being more aware of yourself would help you like decipher between intrinsic and extrinsic. Meditation would really help with that. Make you guide your path rather than having like extrinsic things control you. You can learn to be more intrinsic and guide yourself.
No, yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like being able to reflect and think like deeply about this stuff is important. And I've done a lot more of that in college. I've gotten over some pretty big hurdles, um, like 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 mental hurdles. Um, so yeah, no, I think that yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely useful in that regard. Yeah.
I'm curious about your guys' opinion on this, and Max, you specifically, because you have probably a lot of knowledge about this. But at Stanford here, I've noticed that a lot of people who study philosophy, who study kind of purpose and goals and existentialism at a high level, especially if they're really bright in their field, they have taken shrooms before. And I've it's very very black and white. Like I meet this person and I have like a great discussion with them, and I ask them, hey, did you take shrooms? And they say yes. And it's crazy the amount of people. And I'm curious why you think this is, Max.
Why do I think psychedelics lead people down like a philosophical route?
Do you think it's correlation or causation that they're already inclined to this philosophical
But
route and
it's
then
a
they
hundred
took
percent correlation. Come
uh
on, like that's not even like come on. I mean, like I'm sure there's some people it's causation. Not saying that doesn't exist, but like
yeah.
I aggregate, like if you look at it in the aggregate, like it's correlation. Like,
I
at
mean,
least
Matt,
I
for
think.
for Max, was it correlation or causation for you? Did it start the philosophical journey, or were you already on the philosophical journey?
In the aggregate, Rishi, not like
That is true. That
individually.
is true. Yeah, that is true.
I've
Mm.
always spent time thinking about things since I was little. Like I would sit in
Mm.
my rocking chair for hours, but it wasn't as philosophical. It was very, very small. Psychedelics really changed my perspective on philosophy. I would have never gotten into philosophy if it wasn't for psychedelics. Rishi,
Mm.
whether you were in my life or not, I
Mm.
took psychedelics. If we remove you from
Mm.
the equation, I believe I would have ended up becoming a monk somehow.
Huh.
That's what I
Interesting.
truly believe. I think I would end up like backpacking, filming random
Mm.
videos, or sitting in my room, or doing something really dumb and getting arrested. Like, no matter what, if you weren't in my life, I think I would have become a monk at one point
Interesting.
through
I
psychedelics.
I actually I tend to agree with you. I think a lot of the monks I met there started with psychedelics or backpacking or both. Uh, they didn't seem as happy. Uh, that is one thing I'll note. Like, it was kind of a last resort that monkhood became their option because ultimately they couldn't find anything that kind of gave them a purpose, gave them a goal, and so they resorted to being a monastic. I will say that there was a really old monk that I met. Basically, there's different stages of monkhood. There's a Ajahn, which is teacher, and it's like after 10, 15 years, you can become a Ajahn. And then there's something really high called Lumpo, which is like 30 years of monkhood. This guy had like 40, 45 years. And he said he started with taking like shrooms. He took shrooms in like the 1970s. He became really, really interested in the brain and he went and just stayed at a monastery and he stayed. He was pretty happy, I'd say that. But I will say he was still searching. He wasn't where he wanted to be. And I think even monastic life, in a sense, unless you get to the very end, which is enlightenment, in a sense, some of the happiness that comes from monastic life, most of the happiness, I'd say, comes from the goal. They too have a goal. I think it is that kind of overarching goal, whether it's universalist, whether it's enlightenment, there is that overarching goal that creates the happiness. And unless you reach the very end, which is for universalism, all cosmic knowledge, or for Buddhism, enlightenment, then you can still gain happiness and peace from that goal, from the pursuit itself. This is kind of like monkhood. This is modern monkhood, I'd say. Universalism is like modern monkhood.
I would agree. I've come to a similar conclusion to you. And all philosophy majors I have personally met
Mm.
are two things. They're either very, very strong Christian or Catholics,
Huh.
or they have a history with psychedelics. I believe it's generally more causation,
A
but
history of what?
history of psychedelics.
Okay, wow. Huh.
What gets a person into philosophy in the first place? Yeah, Evan.
Hi. My mom is an immigrant from Mexico, and so she assimilated here. She grew up from like elementary, middle school, and she dropped out of high school. She had me when she was 20 with my dad, and she was kind of a housewife. She tried to go to college in that period of being a housewife, and she recently relayed to me what classes she took. She said she hated history so much she wrote extra pages for her assignment. And could you repeat your question because I got too excited?
What gets people into philosophy in the first place? Like, what's the
I think
motivator?
it's a kind of I think it's a kind of seeing the alienation of like from the self. you know how my mom is an immigrant, like she came to a place where she's different and othered. So I think she had a fascination with understanding why it was, and philosophy is kind of a way to find that out, right? Why differences exist and what the overarching purpose is.
I agree
So
with Evan, and I'll take that on a larger scale too. I think
Yeah.
it's it's about not just finding differences in why specific things are the way they are, but why everything is the way it is. Like as a baby, I think most people when they're born, if they're born without influences, have kind of the universalist dream at their core or the desire to know why they are here. If I was raised in the desert without anyone to raise me and I just somehow got food and water and shelter, I believe I would have grown up wondering why I was there, why I existed in the first place, why the universe existed in the first place. All of the whys that exist, I think, are innate from when we are born. Because there is that idea that before we were born, we just didn't exist, right? And so that change of state itself, any change of state, causes the question, why did the state change? So when you're a baby and you recognize that the state changed, you weren't born before, but now you're born, you start to wonder, why was I born? And you can see that by toddlers always asking questions. Why is the sky blue? Why do cars have four wheels? Why this, that, and the other? Kids ask so many questions. They're naturally curious because they recognize that before they were born, this stuff didn't happen at all, and now it's just happening. And so this drive, I think, is within us all, this curiosity to know where we came from, why are we here, to gather all of the knowledge in the entire universe. I think it's innate, but I think it is beaten out of us by society. And I think people are drawn to philosophy because they are sometimes the type of people that don't accept the beatings from society. They hold the curiosity close to their chest, they hold that dream in their heart, and they don't let it go. Even when society scolds them, drags them through the mud, they keep it. The curiosity, the desire to know. And a lot of the times these children are the purest of us all. They ask these questions that no one else would ever ask. And they are the inspiration oftentimes for innovation. There are many, many stories about children who actually ask a question to like an adult inventor or scientist or etc. And that sparks their kind of revelation moment. It's very interesting. But it's because they challenge the way we think. And this is always innate within us. It's the question of whether we can hold it and keep it throughout our life, not let it go, or whether society beats it out of us. And you are drawn to philosophy, I think, if you are able to keep that flame burning.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I gotta head out and get going on some work. But this was really cool. Definitely hope to join again. Good meeting you, Evan. Um,
Well, nice
and
to meet you.
yeah, yeah. Well, I hope you guys have a good rest of your conversation. Yeah.
Henceforth.
All
it's
right.
great having you. I hope to see you again.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks, Max. I love the suit.
Venture forth. Evan, I completely agreed with Rishi's definition of what draws people to philosophy. It's something intrinsic in us and society beats it out. It's that childlike wonder, that childlike drive for the stars. What got you into philosophy?
What makes you think I'm into philosophy?
You're here right now.
Hmm. But we talked earlier that I could be a hedonist, so I could just like the social inclusion without caring much about the subject. What makes you think I'm a philosophist?
talk-
Into philosophy.
You talk about philosophy.
What do I say?
You say a lot of things. We have deep conversations, and you said your purpose and goal was all cosmic knowledge, and you question things to their core. These are all philosophical things. And
Okay,
you
so
talked
questioning things
about,
to their core makes me into philosophy.
yeah, and you talked about not wanting to be a hedonist and your ability to learn and seek the truth. You said you want to seek the truth above all else. These all seem very like
I
philosophical
don't have much of a
things.
choice. Intrinsically, I don't have much of a choice whether or not I question. Like the kids you guys talked about, they question because they know things are different than what they used to be. For me, I question because it just is the way that I am. I don't really choose to be a philosopher or into it. I just am. It's just natural to ask questions. And I like asking questions, and I like getting answers, and I like learning.
Hmm. What got you
So I
into
kind of am
philosophy?
still a hedonist in that regard.
Why are you a hedonist?
Your
Oh,
voice is so low for me. I don't
what
know
makes
why.
you a hedonist?
Oh. Well, I talked earlier about my mom being an immigrant. So she crossed the border from Mexico when she was like 9 with her mom and siblings. And then when she was like 14, she went back to Mexico and then didn't like it there, so she came back. I think she went back when she was 18 again, and then she came back. But my mom has been living as a working person for a lot of her life. So she hasn't exactly had the luxuries of being able to fully get into college and question things. And that's how I'm different because I live with my dad who works like 12-hour days consistently for providing the comforts I have. So I have the luxury of being able to ask questions right now. But my mom didn't. Was your question what got me into it? I forgot.
Yeah.
Mm. So what got me to this point where I'm at right now?
Yes.
Mm. The point of talking with you guys here. Resilience. Situations got me here. My personality got me here. Relationships got me here. Technology got me here.
Hmm. With being a hedonist, Rishi was talking about the neuroscience of happiness earlier. And technically, if you wanted to achieve the most amount of happiness and pleasure, it would be the most optimal to strive for a goal rather than happiness in itself.
Hmm. Wait, but my pleasure comes from having goals and fulfilling them. My pleasure comes from growing and learning. Does that count?
Yeah, it counts. I wouldn't say it's
Is-
hedonism per se though, because hedonism's main idea is that the goal is happiness directly. Like that is the end goal.
My definition was lacking then because I didn't know that. I didn't understand that. So, no, I take pleasure from learning and growing and changing. Also, fucking suffering, but that in itself, like Max was saying, is pleasure because it's fun. It's fun to have resistance for new thoughts for me because then I'm like, why is there resistance? And it's just more learning.
No, very true.
Mm.
That is very true.
Max is go
Go
ahead.
on. You go.
I was just gonna ask, is how many days has it been for celibacy for you?
I don't know technically, but since I started counting, here, let me see.
I believe it was 10 you said on the first day that you started counting.
I wasn't even sure then. It was anywhere between, I don't know. It was definitely above 5. I know that for sure.
Okay.
So, on my counter, this is day 11.
Mm. So okay, if we take 5 as the minimum, then it's like 16 days. Should be a little over 2 weeks. Is it getting easier? Have you reached that peak yet? Like where it's like really tough and then like it's getting less tough?
This time pursuing celibacy, it's significantly easier. I'm not
Hmm.
I don't have an identifier exactly why. Maybe it's because I've failed and tried so many times, and each time
Yeah,
I
I've been
fail,
going.
I take away something. What's
Max, I
up?
want to ask why you failed celibacy.
I always fail when I'm very physically tired or mentally tired, exhausted. It's like I would fail celibacy if I go like a night without sleep, and it's no longer max. In the military, they sleep deprive the soldiers because they want to see who is truly strong in the subconscious. Because once you become sleep deprived, it's not really like you have agency. You don't have blood flowing to your prefrontal cortex through dopamine. The system creates more control and agency. So, in the military, they do this to show who is truly strong. They sleep deprive them for days, and then they test them in challenges like trying to tie ropes underwater to see when they will truly break. And it, most of the time, I believe, what's the really hard branch? The Marines or the Navy SEALs.
The
Navy
SEALs?
SEALs.
Navy
The
SEALs.
SEALs, yeah. The Navy SEALs, it's a really high statistic. I don't remember the exact number. It's like 80, 70, 90% of the SEALs that fail, it's not due to them getting kicked out. It's due to them quitting from it being too hard. From when, in those times of true weakness, it comes down to their subconscious mind, what is already pre-wired. And that pre-wiring, if they don't understand it, it consumes them and it makes up their decisions. So whenever I'm really mentally and physically dead, it's like I'm barely have agency. It's such a small percentage. So it's like now a few particles in the universe fighting a larger sum.
I've always wanted to do the Navy SEALs Hell Week. I think that could be an amazing experience.
Well, right now, after this, I'm gonna meet a friend who's in the Navy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but Max,
Oh.
so I'd recommend not doing anything too sleep depriving until maybe 2 months.
2 months. I'll be sure to do that. It's more, there's a point, I just need to be more aware of when to go to sleep. That's my big issue. Because I'll be so locked in on something, and then I'll be locked in until my body fails, then I lay down, and then it's like I start losing control. Or I just, for some reason, get bad sleep with bad habits. But being disciplined really helps.
Good.
What have you been trying to overcome lately, Evan?
What is the definition of overcome?
Definition of overcome. I would define there's definitely a difference between pushing through and overcoming, I would say.
Oh yeah, like because you can force yourself to do something, but not overcome what made it hard in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Like overcoming, I feel like there's a form of understanding and acceptance and guiding.
So what if I had to make myself face in order to understand and then accept? Like, what if I had to overcome in order to move forward?
Yeah.
So right now, Evan is going through a significant rebirthing. My life circumstances changed a lot 2 years ago, and so my neuroplasticity is like an overdrive, if that's the correct way to say it. I've got a lot of opportunities with education, with relationships, with resources, with opportunity that I need to change a lot of basic mindsets and assumptions like you guys were talking about earlier. My axioms have to change. And then I also, like Max is going through with needing to, when you're sleep deprived and you fall into like temptation, I'm needing to face the temptations I have to give up as if I'm inadequate and as if I can't accomplish what I want, as if I can't want anything at all. I'm needing to get over these limiting mindsets, which have root in trauma, and toxic family structures. So I've needed to do a lot of facing myself and therefore asking why. And I had to do some brain research. So yesterday I read part of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Damn, what was the author's name? But he's a psychologist who studied trauma being held in bodies of veterans and why the brain constantly relives trauma. So you were talking earlier, Rishi, about the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. The prefrontal cortex is only like 30% of the brain. And so what takes hold is more the reptilian brain and the limbic system. So I needed to overcome that. If I really am to take life by the reins, I got to completely understand why I am the way that I am, because it is limiting me. So overcoming what I've needed to overcome is myself, meaning like the ego of Evan, who's like a little ball of a devil. That's it.
Evan, I think a good book you might like. It's a manifesto. It's called Industrial Society and Its Future by this guy named Ted Kaczynski. It's a little out there. It's a little crazy, but it really changed my worldview a little bit, and I think it could be interesting to you as well. It talks a lot about psychology, societal psychology, environment, and basically what his argument is that society creates a detrimental psychology in the individual, and the only way to remove that is to destroy the industrial system. So all of technology, basically. And I don't agree with his view.
Technology? Not technology. I think it's the beliefs we have in society, our culture.
I agree with that, but I think it's a good book. I think it's a good book to read. You might like it.
The industrial fabrics of
Revolution.
society.
Industrial Revolution and Its Future.
I could send it to
Industrial
you.
Revolution.
And Its Future. Yeah, I
Thank
can
you.
send it in the chat as well. It's by this
Thank
guy
you.
named Ted Kaczynski.
Ted
So
Kaczynski.
he was a Harvard mathematician and like this really, really smart guy. He worked on pure mathematics and was like professor and incredibly bright, brilliant guy. And then he got into philosophy and went and lived in a cabin in the woods and started building bombs and mailing them to like the essentially people he deemed evil in the system. And so he was known as the Unabomber, very famous in the 1990s-ish. And he was a very interesting fellow. He died a couple of years ago. He was in jail. But his writings are very, very beneficial in gaining a new perspective on the world. And I think one of the main things it did was take me out of a little bit of politics, because I was very, very much left-leaning before reading that. And this kind of challenged that for me. It introduced kind of the nuances in both conservative and liberal psychology, and made me kind of not align to either of them. And I think it's a great read because of that. Yeah, go ahead.
For me, I live in Cameron Park. We have Trump rallies. We
Really?
have up here every so often, there'll be like a precision of cars with Trump flags and USA flags with like, I think not Confederate, but it's got like a hawk on it. And they'll just like in a precision go down the street honking and just like as a support rally. So
Wow.
up here, and today I just worked as a weed pooling for people. Up here, the people are very nice. It's a small townish. They give a lot of what they have, and a lot of them are Republicans. So I used to grow up with that left-leaning mindset, especially from social media in high school. All those like activists posts of repost this and you're part of the group. A lot of inaction. But up here, it's not easy to pick one or the other because people are not one or the other. So I've found that it's really inadequate, these mindsets we have. And also the more I learn in school, like I'm taking a history of the United States, I'm learning that it was the Democratic Party that was pro-slavery early on. And so they're supposed to be the liberal ones right now, but their history has been of like a point. So it can't be exactly like, we're good guys 100% of the way. Like everybody's got their nuance. I do have to get out because I'm meeting a friend, like I said.
Yeah, no worries. Well, venture forth.
You guys are
Venture
the best. Okay, it's sweet talking to you guys.
It was good
Bye.
talking to you.
I have to go edit some videos, so it's a good time for me to leave too. But this
Yes,
meeting
sure.
went
All right, venture
wonderful.
forth.
Venture forth.